The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
Welcome back to another episode of On the Record. I'm your host, Cody Thomas. Now this week, this is the kind of case that stops you in your tracks. A mother and her little boy attacked in broad daylight in the parking lot of a grocery store. Now, prosecutors say it was random, it was brutal and unexplainable. A 3-year-old boy stabbed to death and his mother fighting to live. And the woman accused of it all, her defense, not guilty by reason of insanity. This is the state of Ohio versus Bionca Ellis, and I'm gonna take you through it day by day. But first, let's start at the beginning.
I'm at North Olmsted, Ohio, Giant Eagle. Someone just stabbed a kid and a lady in the parking lot.
Chaos breaks out in the parking lot of a Giant Eagle grocery store just outside of Cleveland, Ohio on June 3rd, 2024.
There is a child. He's bleeding all over the place. We're at North Olmsted, Giant Eagle.
Margot Wood was shopping with her 3-year-old son, Julian, when they were attacked by a knife-wielding stranger.
The young child suffered 2 stab wounds, one to the face and one to the back, and then she suffered one to her shoulder area.
Julian died of his injuries, but his mother, Margot, survived.
I need a car to go help the kid. He's in the first couple aisles.
Where's your cuffs? Get cuffs? Who's got cuffs?
33-year-old Bionca Ellis was arrested on the edge of the parking lot where the stabbings happened. A long blade knife was found on the ground near where she was cuffed.
Did she say anything?
No, I didn't hear anything. I had my windows down. I didn't hear anything. All I heard was just screaming, and the lady grabbed her child up out the cart, and that's when it fell over, and they collapsed over here, and the lady just continued to walk off.
Police say Bionca Ellis stole a knife from a nearby thrift store. Surveillance video shows Ellis walking into the grocery store with the knife in plain view.
It was very, very upsetting that someone would do that, to a child and their mother.
As Margot Wood swerved her grocery cart to avoid running into Bionca Ellis, Ellis turned around to follow Margot and Julian out of the store, the whole time swinging the knife by her side.
As a mother, I cannot even begin to fathom the sense of loss that this family is going through.
Ellis is facing multiple charges, including murder, attempted murder, and felonious assault.
Have you received and read your indictment?
I don't know.
You don't know if you've received it?
She was found competent to stand trial after her defense team requested a mental health evaluation. This after her behavior in the courtroom raised questions about her ability to assist in her own defense. For the family of Julian Wood, they'll never get over the loss of their child.
She took everything from us. There's nothing that could ever replace my son.
Day one, the jury is seated and the room is still. Prosecutors stand and tell the story the jurors will never forget. The day a 3-year-old boy named Julian was stabbed to death outside a Giant Eagle supermarket. The state painted a horrifying picture. Bionca Ellis spending minutes inside a thrift store, sifting through kitchen knives, choosing one she liked, and then walking straight to the supermarket. Prosecutor Anna Faraglia told jurors they'd see Ellis on surveillance video, knife in hand, following Margot Wood and her son Julian through the store, then out into the parking lot where she turned on them. The state said Ellis stabbed Julian first in the face, then his mother Margot as she tried to fight her off. The child was stabbed again in the back before Ellis walked away calmly, the knife still in her hand. Police found her moments later at the edge of the parking lot. The knife was on the ground next to her. She said nothing.
On June 3rd of 2024, Margot Wood and her daughter Julian Wood went shopping at Giant Eagle on Lorraine Road. She left her child Johnny and Mila at home with the grandmother. They went shopping and went through the aisles to pick out what they were going to have for supper that evening. It was a common, ordinary day in the life of Margot Wood. The evidence is going to show, ladies and gentlemen, that on that day, Bionca Ellis also was having an ordinary day. In the video, Bionca Ellis coming into Giant Eagle, and she's got the 12-inch butcher knife. And she has it right by her side, and she's walking, and she's walking. And you will see in the video, ladies and gentlemen, that Margot had paid for her groceries. She had her hanging basket on her cart, the child in the seat of the cart, walking out, going to load her groceries and go home. I want you to pay attention to the video. As Mrs. Wood is walking out with Julian, and they're actually having a conversation, Miss Ellis passes them going this way, for lack of a better word to describe. She would be going west, and they are coming east. And so therefore, she sees them walking, and she turns immediately around. And she follows them all the way out of the store. And you will see that she is walking in tandem with them. There'll come a point in the video where you will see that she is walking faster, so she passes them. She stops, waits for them to catch up, and follows them completely out of the store.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
The cameras outside, ladies and gentlemen, pick up that Margot goes down one aisle. Mrs. Wood is going down the aisle where her minivan is parked, and the evidence will show that this defendant is right on her heels, walking right behind her. Ladies and gentlemen, the evidence is going to show, and witnesses are going to testify, that they observed Bionca Ellis approach Mrs. Wood and Julian, and she goes and takes the knife and stabs Julian in the face. Miss Woods tries to fight her off. She stabs Mrs. Woods. And there are independent witnesses that were in the parking lot that sees her stand over Julian on the ground and plunge a knife into his back. Miss Ellis, taking her knife that is now clad in red blood, and she walks away. Just walks away very nonchalantly. The police now have surrounded the parking lot, and they tell her to stop. She immediately takes the knife and throws the knife. The same weapon that she used to kill Julian. She's arrested. She is taken into custody. The state is confident that when you hear all the evidence in this case, and again, I ask you, pay attention to actions and to words. They're very, very important in this case. And when you do that, you will find Bionca Ellis guilty beyond a reasonable doubt for each and every count of this indictment. She knew what she did. She appreciated the wrongfulness of her actions. You be the judge of her actions.
The defense asked the jury to see something else: mental illness. Attorney Fernando Mack told them Bionca Ellis has lived with schizophrenia since childhood, and that when she stopped taking her medication, she became a different person. He said she was homeless, she was wandering, and off her meds when the attack happened, and that there was no rational motive, only a mind of chaos.
Bionca Ellis is 34 years old. She has no felony convictions. She has suffered from mental illness since the age of 22, diagnosed with schizophrenia. And Bionca has been treated on an outpatient basis at a place called Murders Taylor for almost 10 years. There's been a lot of ups and downs as it relates to her treatment. You'll hear from her mother, Yolanda Eggleton, and she'll come in and she'll testify the struggles of trying to get Murders Taylor to medicate Bionca, because Bionca, when she's on her medication versus when she's off her medication, she's two different people. And she pushed hard for Murders Taylor to try to do something about Bionca being on medication. And Murders Taylor's response was, she doesn't represent a danger to herself or others, so there's nothing that we could do. She'll tell you how she lost contact with Bionca over the course of 6 to 8 months prior to this incident. And I'll tell you that no one's going to dispute, the evidence will show that she's a mentally ill person. Between January of 2024 up until the date of this incident, June 3rd of 2024, Bionca was off of her medication. The medication, the evidence will show, stabilizes her. Bionca received a Social Security check. And what she did with that check was she traveled from the state of Ohio to the state of California. She traveled from the state of California back to Ohio, and then down to Florida, and eventually back to Ohio. During that time frame, there were many occasions where Bionca exhibited mental illness. There were occasions where she would go to a particular location and try to get herself arrested because she's living in a homeless shelter, because she's living on the streets. She's trying to find structure. I think the evidence will show that during her mental illness, she tried to find places of refuge, unsuccessfully. And it is true that whatever's going on in her mind, whatever's going on with her mental illness, the evidence will show that she got behind Ms. Wood and her child, Julian, and she followed her. Eventually, Bionca goes into a foyer area, and then Ms. Wood and her child, Julian, they leave out, they go into the parking lot. She walks out of the foyer, and she does follow behind them. I will tell you that all times, she remained the posture of having both of those knives in her hand. One knife in her hand at Giant Eagle, excuse me. And I will tell you that she never tried to conceal it. And she committed that act in broad daylight, never trying to conceal the knife. And she doesn't run away. She walks away, knife in hand, still carrying the knife after this act is done. The evidence will show that there was no rational motive for her to have committed this offense. There's evidence will show that there's no relationship between she and the victims in this case. She still has a knife in hand at the time that the police confronts her. And she does drop it. Bionca's brought back to the police station. And eventually, she's interviewed. There's evidence of mental illness that occurred as a result of her responses in that interview. There's evidence that would show that she was irrational at all points of time. During that interview, while in the jail, even when she arrived in the county jail, sitting naked on the floor. Bionca displayed mental illness from the beginning of this incident, for the months prior to this incident, while in the jail, and if by chance you saw her at her arraignment, the evidence will show that even during her arraignment, she was still mentally ill because she was smiling at the arraignment. The evidence will show that she answered the judge in Spanish when being asked questions. She acknowledges through her lawyers, whether she testifies or not, that she's responsible for the murder of Julian. She acknowledges through her lawyers that she's responsible for the attempted murder of Margot. There's no running away from that. That's not what this trial is about. The evidence will show, though, that it is obvious that she was insane at the time of the offense.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
Now, day one ended with a clear divide. Prosecutors say a cold-blooded murder. The defense says a mental breakdown with no intent to kill. The question for this jury, is Bionca Ellis criminally responsible or insane? On to day two. Now remember, prosecutors have already outlined the horrific picture of Ellis stealing a knife from a thrift store before heading to the supermarket where this double stabbing happened. Now, surveillance video showed her entering a thrift store, picking through kitchen knives, leaving without paying, and walking to the Giant Eagle with one in her hand. Eyewitnesses described a sudden attack, screams in the parking lot, a child stabbed and his mother injured trying to fight Ellis off. Now, several said she walked away nonchalantly, even smiling. A police body camera showed her dropping the knife and complying as officers moved in. Nurses who were shopping nearby testified that they performed CPR on Julian, and an officer said he placed a chest seal on the toddler's back wound, but it was too late. Now that brings us to day three, where the testimony turned heartbreaking. For the first time, the jury heard from the mother who lived through the attack and watched her little boy die in front of her. But before Julian's mom took the stand, a DoorDash driver, Travis Bush, testifies about seeing the attack unfold from his car. He told jurors he saw multiple stabs, and when he confronted her, she shrugged and mouthed the word, "so."
That's when I saw the black female dressed in all black came around and raised her arm. That's when I saw the knife, because the sun just kind of the sun just made it just stand out. And she stabbed the kid, drew back, stabbed him again. I kind of walked up towards the store, and I just remembered one of the paramedics said there's no pulse. It's
Next, Margot Wood, Julian's mother, took the stand. Through tears, she recalled picking out flowers with her son, paying for the groceries, and walking to her car before she saw the defendant coming toward them with a knife.
When I was pushing the car back, it fell over. And then she came at me. I'm sorry. She came at me. But I moved. And she stabbed him in the side of his face. And then she stabbed me.
A police sergeant testified he saw Ellis drop the knife and comply with commands. A school resource officer said she seemed angry and unresponsive back at the station. Body cam and jail video showed her being escorted in calmly, saying nothing. 3 days in, the state's case is raw and relentless. Jurors have now seen the video, heard the screams, and listened to the mother who lived through it. Now next, they'll hear from detectives, medical experts, and the psychologists who will try to answer one question. When Bionca Ellis attacked, did she know what she was doing? I'm Cody Thomas. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, stay informed, and join me next time we go back on The Record.
This podcast is a production of Court TV. Go to CourtTV.com for more content, trials on demand, and to find out how to watch Court TV in your area.